Hey everyone, welcome back. If you've been here before, and if you're new, then welcome. Um, wow, December 1st, oh my god. And look at that, eh? December 1st, and we get our first snowfall. Wow, it is amazing. Yeah. Um, yeah, sorry, I'm kind of flabbergasted there for a second. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Clayton. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and I've been clean and sober since February 21st, 2021. And wow, yeah, so we're going to continue on in the basic text. Um, Jails, institutions, and recovery. Wow, yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? So this addict found freedom behind bars through the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. This is a story from our first edition. Jails, institutions, and recovery. I first came to Narcotics Anonymous in a state prison. It was my third term in prison over a 7-year period, with only a few months at any one time in the streets. One night in this prison, I heard of a meeting going on about something to do with drugs. Well, I could relate to this. Do I decide to check it out? Besides, it would get me away from the cells for a while. I can remember how confused I was leaving the first meeting back at my cell. I dwelled on all those years in and out of jails and all those things that I'd been through just to get loaded. Most of all, I began thinking of how tired I was of living this kind of life. This group called Narcotics Anonymous seemed then to be a little too much for me. I told myself that I wasn't a hardcore dope fiend, but just a guy who liked to get loaded every day, and a thief who could not stay out of jail. Although in those first meetings I did not see NA as a solution to my craziness, I did hear some things I could relate to, so I kept going back. I heard the people in NA say that they didn't take drugs anymore, not even grass. I listened. Sure, I wanted to stop all of the insane situations in my life, but I didn't think I had to give up drugs altogether to do it. I thought that I needed to learn how to handle drugs better. Some of the NA members who came into the prison to share at these meetings had been inmates themselves. They attributed the change in their lives to the support of Narcotics Anonymous. One addict sharing and helping another addict. I enjoyed hearing these people tell how it was and how it is today, and soon felt a real kinship in the pain that we had all been through. I began respecting these people in NA who talked about how they found a way to live without drugs, alcohol, and jails. I continued to get stoned in the institution whenever and whatever way I could while still attending the NA meetings regularly. The members told me to keep coming back no matter what, so I did. Besides, it sure beat talking that talk in the art. Soon I was to be transferred for pre-release to a much looser security prison. I had been there before and had been busted for smoking grass, for which I was sent to a more maximum prison. Now, as I was packing my property for this transfer, I remembered a lot of trouble I had gotten into at this institution just to use drugs. The man knew me there, and I was pretty nervous now, thinking about being self, uh, sorry, thinking about being eyeballed from the time I stepped off that bus. I was already thinking hard about getting loaded when I could, and scared stiff inside knowing what would happen if I got caught again. So I smoked a joint that morning before the long bus ride. I didn't know it then, but it was to be my last. Back in the beginning, when I was attending these NA meetings, I would wonder why it wasn't working for me like it did for others. I was tired of this drug and institutional life, but at that point, I guess I wasn't tired enough because I was still using when I was going to the meetings. I had a decision to make on that bus ride, which was paid for by the Department of Corrections. The decision I made that day was mostly out of fear of and some things I heard in those first NA meetings. I remember being in that bus, moving down the highway with chains wrapped around my wrists and shackles on my feet, uncomfortably looking up at a resentful guard behind a cage with a shotgun staring out the window as the miles of freedom passed me by. I wondered why I wouldn't be a part of that world. Getting loaded did not feel right anymore. Yet thinking about not taking anything sure felt strange. What a relief when I later learned that it was easier by doing it just one day at a time. Upon arrival at this other prison, I was met by an inmate who was an NA member. I knew him from meetings that we both attended at another prison. It already made a difference to see his face when I drove up because, again, I knew I had the support that would help me make it. I continued in the fellowship at this prison and became active in the service part of the program in the institution. During these last 6 months, I had to do I had to do on my sentence. I would wake up in the morning and say, just for today, I won't take anything. And I hung with NA people in the institution to keep myself away from temptations. There was plenty of opportunities, so it wasn't easy, but I now had the support of the NA fellowship. Once I was let out to attend an outside meeting, which made me want the fellowship on the outside even more. I started going to the meetings clean for the first time, and something happened. The program began to work. Today I knew what makes NA work. One really one really starts understanding why it can work only when totally abstaining from all mind altering chemicals. I also was beginning to understand what caring means. By helping each other, we can make it. I felt that the only way who really understood me was another addict, and the only one who could help was a clean addict. I was so proud to stand before the group in prison and announce that I had 90 days clean. Feeling proud was not part of my life before NA. It was such a relief not having to hustle drugs out on the yard and to do the crazy things that I did get high. I had never done time like this and it sure felt great. I made another decision through the advice the NA members gave me, which was the second most important decision I had ever made in my life. This decision was to have someone from the NA program at the gate to pick me up when I was released. A person that I knew understood what I needed my first day out, because I sure didn't at this point. When I go pick sorry, when I go back into prisons today to carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous, I suggest that inmates have an NA member at the gates when they get out. I heard so many say, "Oh, I'll check it out, but I've got to do this first," or "be here first." Don't kid yourself. You might die first if you are an addict like me. The first day out was so righteous. I was taken to a home. I was taken to a home where NA members were expecting me. This one member gave me a new address book with NA phone numbers in it and said, "Give me your old address book. You don't need it. You don't need those old numbers of your connections anymore." Another member took me to his closet and gave me some clothes. I went to a bunch of meetings that day and sure received the love and care I needed, which seemed to make up for all the attention I missed while locked up over the years. Recently, one of the many benefits for me was being able to stand before the judge of the Supreme Court and receive my certificate of rehabilitation. I never thought I would be standing in front of any judge for this reason. I am so grateful today to say that I have been able to go beyond the fellowship for the support I need. I'm speaking about God. I mean a God I can understand and talk to when I need to. Sorry, and talk to when I need a higher power, a higher strength. The God I found in Narcotics Anonymous. So if you are in a cell reading this, my message goes to you. If you are wondering whether drugs or booze or both are screwing up your life, find out where an NA meeting is in your facility and check it out. You might be saving your own life and learning a better way. If one addict can make it, so can another. We help each other in Narcotics Anonymous. Amen to that. I've never, you know, my only experience with jails is the drunk tank. I mean, I was once on a conditional sentence for a year, actually 2 years, which fortunately enough was held during the same time frame. So I did a 2 year conditional sentence in 1 year, and then I also had 6 months house arrest, or should I say a year house arrest, but again, it was 2 6 months house arrest, but laid out in the same time frame. So really, it was like I only had one, but I don't know. I'm confusing myself, but I did two in one. But anyway, I got to do it from home and on the honor system because it was after I was done with all my trouble that they started doing house checks for people who were on house arrest. Um, but anyway, yeah. So I I I totally lost my train of thought. Wow. Um, yeah, again about my experience with institutions as well, just treatment in the drunk tank and being on home restrictions. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you. If nobody today has told you that they love you, then I love you. And I'll love you even more if you hit like or subscribe because I'm trying to build a community here for like minded people. So let's stay clean and sober another day together. We'll see you again real soon, everybody. Bye for now.